Good morning, Greenfinch. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to be back with you all. It wasn't so long ago I was here, and last time I was here we looked at John 5. By here you haven't actually been in John since that talk. You just went somewhere else. So now we're coming back to the book of John. Just to give you a little recap of what we said when we did John 5. We talked about how John was the last person, the last of the apostles to write down his gospel. He gave him a lot of time to reflect on what he wanted to include in that. And clearly, when John came to write his gospel, he took a lot of inspiration from where things began. You know, he starts his gospel right at the beginning. In the beginning, there was the Word, right? He goes back to Genesis because he sees a story of Jesus, not as this disconnected thing over here where it happened thousands of years later. He clearly sees Jesus throughout, from the beginning right to the end, and he wants to get that point across. And then we looked at the story of a man who was lame, who sat by a pool, looking for healing. We looked at a desolate place, the spiritual desolation that was in Israel at that moment. And we ended roughly at looking at that Jesus wants to do the same thing for us, that he's just waiting for us to say, Lord, I need you, I need your help, and he's willing to give you whatever help that you need. So we're going to come to John 9 this morning. Actually, there's a lot of similarities between John 5 and John 9, I found. We're not going to talk so much about that, but there are there. So I've asked Theo to do the reading for us this morning. So he's going to come and read to us John 9, and then we're going to talk about it. Is that all right? Theo? Do you want to hold it?
Yeah. Oh.
You hold it.
All right. As he went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus. But this happened so that the work of God might be displayed in his life. As long as it is day, we must do the work of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said this, he spat on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who hadn't formerly seen him begging asked, Isn't this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, No, he only looks like him. But he insisted himself, I am the man. How then were your eyes opened? They demanded. He replied, The man they called Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. Where is this man? They asked him. I don't know, he said. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Now, the day on which Jesus had made the mud and opened the man's eyes was a Sabbath. Therefore, the Pharisees also asked him how he had received the sight. He put mud on his eyes, the man replied, and I washed. Now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath. But others asked, How can a sinner do such a miraculous sign? So they were divided. Finally, they turned again to the blind man. What have you to say about him? It was your eyes he opened. The man replied, He is a prophet. The Jews still did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they sent for the man's parents. Is this your son? They asked. Is this the one that you say was born blind? How is it now that he can see? We know that he is our son. The parents answered, and we know that he was born blind. But how can he see now? Or who opened his eyes? We don't know. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself. His parents said, This because they were afraid of the Jews. For already the Jews had decided that anyone who acknowledged that Jesus was Christ would be put of the synagogue. That was why his parents said, He is of age, ask him. A second time they summoned the man who had been blind. Give glory to God, they said. We know this man is a sinner, he replied. Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see. Then they asked him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered, I have told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciple too? Then they hurled insults at him and said, You are this fellow disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from. The man answered, Now that this is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly man who does will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of the man born blind. If this man was not from God, he could do nothing. To this they replied, You were steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us? And they threw him out. Jesus heard that he had been thrown out. And when he found him, he said, Do you believe the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked. Tell me, so that I can believe in him. Jesus said, You have now seen him, in fact. He is the all speaking with you. The man said, Lord, I believe, and he worshipped him. Jesus said, For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind man see, and those who will see will become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say, and asked this, What, are we blind too? Jesus said, If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin, but now you can claim you can see. Your guilt remains.
Brilliant. Thank you, Theo. Yeah, come on. That was great. Now, what you don't know, Theo, is I hate reading out loud, which is as soon as I saw you coming through, I was like, there is a man who can take what I don't like doing and do it so wonderfully. So well done. That was great. So it's a big chapter. We're not going to get to cover all of it, but we're going to cover some key bits. And today we're going to look at John 9 through the lens of a story arc. So a story arc is how a film writer, a writer of any kind, a storyteller, builds a narrative to take their hearers from one place to another predetermined place. Now, a story writer can decide whether that place is a joyful place, whether it's a sad place, whether it's a world full of imaginary, wonderful things. But the story writer gets the control of that through the story arc. And John is a story writer, and he has a predetermined place where he wants to take his hearers. And to give you a spoiler alert, where John wants to take you is to know that Jesus is awesome. So we're going to take a look at it. Now, Are we on the right slide? So we're in the exposition, right at the beginning where the background setting, right? This is setting the stage for the whole thing. They're walking, they see a blind man. The disciples ask a question, this man sin or his parents sin? And notice the question wasn't framed as, was this because of sin? They had already come to that decision. It's definitely sin, but whose fault is it? Is it this man or his parents' sin? Now, to give you some broader background as to why the disciples had started to think like this, is because of a couple of biblical passages in the Old Testament and some bad teaching that probably went along with them. So we're going to look at Deuteronomy 28, which reads, Theo, I won't ask you to do this one, I'll do this one. So Deuteronomy 28. If you obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on earth. All these blessings will come on you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. You will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. The fruit of your womb will be blessed, and the crops of your land and the young of your livestock, the calves and your herds and the lambs of your flocks. Your basket and your kneading through will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. The Lord will grant the enemies who rise against you to be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but flee from you in seven. So Moses sets out this path. Do all of these things, and you'll do well. You'll be fine. You'll do great. Disobey, and then there's another set of things, a list of things. However, if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not carefully follow all his commands and decrees I'm giving you today, all these curses will come on you and overtake you. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Your basket and your kneading through will be cursed. The fruit of your womb will be cursed, and the crops of your land, and the calves of your herds, and the lambs of your flocks. You'll be cursed when you come in and cursed when you go out. Now you can read Deuteronomy 28. You've got a list of 7 blessings, and the list of curses just goes on. It goes on and on. So you can go and read it. I'll just read to you a few of them. But you can understand why the Jews had come to this way of thinking. That sin is ultimately at the root of bad things that happen in the world. So it's not crazy the disciples are asking, is it this man's sin or his parents' sin? The crazy part is Jesus' answer. Neither. What? This is huge for them. So coming back to the story arc, we're kind of getting to this bit now, the inciting incident. A hero is about to emerge. So not this man's sin, nor his parents, but this is so God's power can be demonstrated. Jesus responded with a mic drop. What do you mean? All of this time we serve God faithfully because we fear something bad would happen to us or our children. But now you're telling me it's for nothing? Actually, what are you telling me? So you're telling me bad things happen so God can emerge a hero? Now I'm going to introduce you to another trick in storytelling, which is called a cliffhanger. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you the next bit. We'll come back to that a little bit later on. So the disciples see a blind man in need, and their focus immediately goes on finding someone to blame. They immediately focus, they take the focus away from his suffering, and they focus, whose fault is it that he's suffering? Is it his fault or is it his parents' fault? And so often we do the same thing. We see an area of need in our community, in our families. We see a situation where someone needs a hand up, some support. But you know what? It's hard work, right? When you step into someone's mess, you also get messy. Helping someone in need is costly. It can cost you money, time. It takes up capacity in your life, in your mind. Sometimes it can affect your health and your relationship. There's always a cost to helping other people. And we don't like the idea of absorbing this cost. My granddad was the worst in it. He hated the poor. Absolutely hated them. He would come up with all kinds of excuses not to give a dime to the poor. They're probably lazy. They're probably faking it. They're probably richer than us. He would come up with all kinds of stuff so he didn't have to give money to the poor. Because finding wrong in other people does two things we love. It makes us feel better about ourselves, and we don't have to then do something about it. We feel like that we have been relieved from the responsibility that we should help out, because actually they're to blame for this. Dehumanization. We take away their humanity and in the process lose ours too. But Jesus, he's not afraid. He's not afraid of the mess. He's not afraid of your mess. Not afraid of the cost. He's not afraid. He's not trying to find someone to blame. He doesn't need a reason to show love. He can help himself because he is love. Because he is the light of the world. Now, light of the world, that phrase gets used in John 8 and John 9. And if you said that phrase to anybody outside the church, light of the world, they would probably immediately think about the sun. Because the sun is the light of our world. And it's a good comparison. The sun is a source of life. It's a source of abundant energy. It's the radiant sun that gives the earth its climate. It's the proximity to the sun that sets our seasons, just like our spiritual lives. It's the sun that grows our food, that gives us liquid water, that sustains us. Now we read about the creation of the sun in the book of Genesis, in Genesis 1. Apart from there's always a nagging problem with Genesis 1, and I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. In verse 3 of Genesis 1, it says, verse 1 to 3, in the beginning God created heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. All good up to this point, right? No problems with that. It all gets a little bit tricky when you get to verse 16. Because in verse 16 of Genesis, it also says God made two lights. A greater light to govern the day and a lesser light to govern the night. And it was describing clearly the sun and the moon. Which leaves the question, what's the light in Genesis 3? Is it an error? Is it an oversight? Does it point to the falseness of the account? Surely even an idiot wouldn't make such a great mistake within the first 16 verses of the world's greatest hoax. I imagine that moment when something like this. The Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, they looked at the void, empty, darkness of the world, and in agreement, they said, let there be beauty. Let there be beautiful animals of every kind. Let there be delicious food of every kind. Let there be families, parents, children, grandparents, aunts and uncles. Let there be friendships. Let there be more opportunity for connection, for relationship, more opportunity to love and be loved. Let there be purpose. In agreement and unity, the Godhead agrees not to hide their light, but to let it shine. And creation follows. And here in John 9, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. as he takes formless clay, rubs it on the eyes of a man born blind, eyes that are used to darkness, and he's sent to a body of water to wash his eyes so he can behold the blinding beauty of God's creation. It's hard to tell what part of the story we're in now. It's a story within a story within a story. Has anyone seen the movie Inception? No? No, it's a similar film to that movie. You can watch it 10 times and still find something new in that film. The Creator returns to his creation. The light of the world is back to claim once more his creation and to make it more beautiful. As John says in chapter 1, he came to the very world he created, and that world didn't recognize him. The great light of Genesis 1:3 returns to set his creation on a new course of redemption and renewed relationship. So folks, is there an area of your lives this morning, an area that's a bit dim, that might need some of God's light in it, an area that's formless, that needs a creator to come and give it some shape, an area that needs God's touch so it can become more beautiful? And guess what? He wants to partner with you to do that. He wants to make it beautiful. He wants to fill it with his light and potential and renew it and bring life into it. Jesus is shouting, I'm willing. Let's invite him into those areas of our lives this morning. I left you on a bit of a cliffhanger earlier with a question. Do bad things happen so God can emerge a hero? I'm going to keep you suspended for a little while I drink some water. Short answer is no. But when bad things happen, when we make mistakes, when we harm others or harm ourselves or both, when illness, death, disease happens, when others look at our lives and see a mess, when they shy away from helping, when we lose hope, when things seem impossible, there's a good God that looks at that hopelessness and says, I'm not scared. It's not too big for me. Others might walk away. Others might find this as an impossible task, but nothing is too big for him. Nothing is too hard, too messy for Jesus. He doesn't need to cause bad things just so his power can be demonstrated. He doesn't need that. He's not the cause, he is the cure. How do I know this? Because of the cross. The God that we serve didn't just click his finger and make all things become well. He didn't end all suffering. He chose to join us in it. He joined us as a human, suffered worse than any of us. He didn't take away the pain, he bore the pain for us. He didn't take away temptation either. He faced the worst temptation himself. And why go through all that trouble? Why do all of that when he could just click his finger and take away? I think it's because he wanted to demonstrate to us how much he loves us. Because there's no greater love than the love of a person that gets stuck in there with you, that joins you in the mess, that joins you in your pain, in your suffering. And that love is meant to transform us so then we can go into the world, be empowered by that love, so we can become agents of love. So we can return to our destiny, that moment of great light, to partner with him in his creation, to bring more beauty wherever we go. It's an empowering love. It sets us on a new direction. It sends us into a dark, formless void of the world and sets us on a path to make it more beautiful. Coming back to our story arc again. And here's the crisis moment of the story. The Pharisees, they start to challenge the man. They try to challenge his experience, take away his miracle from him. They speak lies, they create doubt. They look to rob him of his miracle and of his experience. Now, you might be having a new revelation of God this morning. A revelation that's bringing you into a new desire to give Jesus everything you got, to call him in areas in your life that needs light, that needs beauty. And guess what? The minute you walk out of this place, you're going to face a challenge. Whether it's our busy lives, our health issues, our financial issues, whether it's the work of the enemy who's working overtime to ensure you don't move a single inch in your spiritual life, it will be challenged. But God's light wants to pour in you nevertheless. So if you know it's going to be challenged, be ready for answers, just as the blind man was. He stood on his truth. He knew what his truth was. No matter what the Pharisees said to him, they couldn't rob him of his experience because it was his. I was blind, but now I can see. So I ask you, stand on your truth this morning. What has Jesus done for you in your lives? Stand on that rock. Stand on your testimony. The blind man's revelation leads to his moment of encounter with Jesus, and he says, "Who is he, sir?" the man asked. "Tell me that I may believe in him." Jesus said, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." The man said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshipped him. And now we're going to have an opportunity to worship Jesus, to give him thanks for everything that he's done in our lives. And if it's your first time hearing this message, if it's your first time having a revelation about Jesus, he wants to encounter you. He wants to give you an experience that's personal to you. And if you like to get to know him more, there are good folks in Greenfinch who will walk that journey with you.